Can you hear me? Stock Squatch, you in here?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
May have to turn you up a little bit though.
So many people actually join. I had a couple of people on YouTube already.
No, Home Slice is in here.
Welcome. I got a few people on YouTube that are subscribers, so I shared the Discord link to those folks. See if they're interested in joining.
Hello, gentlemen. How's everyone doing?
Pretty good.
Howdy, howdy.
It's a beautiful day today. Where's everybody from?
I'm in North Carolina.
Oh, it's definitely a beautiful day in North Carolina. It's a nice day in New York City today.
It rained all day here. Just now starting to have no rain, but temperature is great.
Yeah, we had a little bit of drizzles here and there, but overall it was pretty nice.
Give it just a little bit longer so we can get a couple more people in here at least.
Hey guys, and just a reminder, if you could, if you're not speaking or asking a question, if you could just go ahead and mute your mics.
Bro, that game is crazy, bro. What the fuck? I'm stupid. بص يا اسطى بص الزعل خلي بالك my game takes less than
Or get muted.
Rip.
Some people don't even know they're on mute.
Yeah, I think that's the case a lot of times. Also, I think as we have these more frequently, we'll probably get more people. Um, if we set certain days and certain times, I think people will just be setting aside the time in their own schedules to hop in these educational live streams as well.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's once they know it's there, they'll start showing up. Okay. Well, first I can go ahead and I got two people asking me to chart Bank of America and MRO. I'm gonna do that, and then anyone here that has questions, feel free to ask. Let's see. So we're gonna get started on back. So it looks like, let me share my screen on Discord. So it looks like Anton on YouTube is asking about back. Back is at support, and it's definitely in a downtrend. It's got a gap way down here. That may not happen. I would honestly expect it to either bounce where it's at or start testing some of these resistance areas, which are acting as support. But if there's a lot of seller volume, you're going to see it hit some of these stronger support areas. I get alerts out for back to hit when it does cover or fill this gap. I got TDA alerting me on that, so I'm not really paying attention to it until I get a notice. Let's see, MRO. This one I think we're probably going to go down a little bit further. Support area is at 973. If it breaks that, I think the trend is over, and it will definitely create a downtrend. Although it's coming to a neutral area. You know, we got uptrend. The uptrend is kind of gone. It's broken through that uptrend, so it's going to neutral territory, and potentially if it tests this 979 area, it's gonna. If it breaks through it, it's definitely going to create a downtrend. So currently, that's what it's potentially looking like. We might have a bounce to retest this trend line and then continue downward, at least until we get to this support level. See what the actual market overall is going to do. I think that whole COVID thing that's happening right now is going to be a factor, unfortunately. The whole Delta variant spreading, and I think it's fake news, but you know, it could happen. So we'll see. Those of you that are in the Discord channel, do you have any questions? Please feel free to ask. This won't go so well if I don't have too many questions.
Your stream for Discord is paused currently.
Is it? You sure? Is it? You don't see my mouse moving?
I've got your YouTube live open at the same time, but the Discord stream's paused.
Okay. I swear Discord is so finicky sometimes. Try to. How about now? Should be good now.
Yes.
Sweet. Let's see. So I could, if there's no questions, I guess I could go over some of my share announcements or how I swing shares or something like that. I'd like to have some kind of content on here, regardless of questions are being asked. At least members can go back through the video and educate themselves on something, right? Um,
Yeah, we did have one question. What's your favorite long-term ETF? Or one that's like directional? So, for example, there's some ETFs that only have lithium companies in it.
I'm not a long-term trader necessarily. So I do shares. I like fundamentals that they matter to me, but reality is for me, the way I trade, I like to compound my profits. So ideally, I don't like to sit in anything longer than 2 to 3 months. So when we talk about long term, most folks want to just set it and forget it. That's not the kind of trader I am right now. If I've got 10, 20, 30 million dollars and I've got 15 million just sitting there, yeah, sure, I'll probably start searching for something like that to put money into. Um, I don't really have ETFs that I like. I mean, I play TNA with cash secured puts, which is the Russell 2000 or the RUT, I think is what it is. Um, the ETF itself, the index rather, it's the Russell 2000. So I mean, TNA is the ETF that I play that on. Um, but as far as really long-term stuff, I don't really do that very much. And I would say if you want to do long-term, I wouldn't put it in an ETF. I would individually find the best stocks that you can find, the companies that have been around a long time that offer a pretty decent dividend if you can get them at support. Create your own fund, right? Create your own ETF. I think that's the best way because you'll be more intimate with it versus, let's say you like SPY, for example, and you put money in the SPY and then you don't look back. There's 500 tickers in there. So um, I just think it's better to be intimate with your stocks. And if you get into some positions and you're long term and they're paying dividends and, you know, 2 years from now, it does a 50% retracement on from its 2 year low or high or whatever, you can potentially start adding more money to it at a lower price. Maybe not as low as what you got into at, but overall, because everything in the market long term goes up, right? I mean, unless it's a trashy company, then you can probably expect that to go down and just die off ultimately. But you know, good companies over the long term, they're gonna the probabilities are in your favor for them to go up. If we've got black swans, you're gonna have some situations like that where they reverse and you might actually see red. So that's not uncommon, and you can't prevent that. But if you got shares, then time's on your side. Anybody, any other ones you know about, Squatch?
Yeah, what price shares do you normally go for? Do you find cheap ones for people with small ports, or do you usually do pretty large ones?
I like stuff anywhere from 10 to $100. I'll dabble with Apple sometimes. Um, I've been known to go into the $300 range, but it's a lot harder to ladder in those positions and average down. Much easier for things under $50. As you noticed, I don't know if you had time to look at my channel where I posted most of my stuff. There's a lot of things in there that are under $30. I think it's really easy to average down on stuff like that, and it's less painful to look at when something that goes from 30 to 25 versus something that goes from 90 to 60. Um, a lot of people have that, like, it's the mental side of it is a little tricky to get used to. And if you look more at percentage than actual numbers, then it's a little easier to swallow. Well, unless you're losing 15% in one day, and that's not good.
Right, excellent. All right, so how quickly do you normally flip some of the shares that you have? Like I know that you had a Corsair in there. Say you took some Corsair today. How long you looking to hold on to something like that?
Um, average time is about a month. I really do not like sitting in something longer than 3 months, but ideally 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Um, so basically a month or less is really what I'm targeting. Doesn't always work out that way. Sometimes you'll get into it, it drops more. You average down, it drops more. You average down, then it goes sideways for a month. You know, that's happened to me a few times. So it's tough to say that or be confident this that I can say, I'll be out in a month or I'll be out in 2 weeks. It just doesn't work that way. Um, so I just kind of I give a generalized time frame, and the longer I sit in it, the more percent return I'm looking for, because then the price action becomes more concrete, especially if it's starting to go neutral or hover around support, something like that. And if you've got good fundamentals, I mean, again, if you get into a position where it just for some reason keeps going down or sideways or just dies and doesn't have any life for a while, you're still protected. And that's why I say no more than 5% of your account in any one position at any time. That way you're not too heavy and you're not stuck outside of taking other plays, right? So always give yourself extra room to uh, do other plays and average down on certain positions that you're in. Let's see. I got somebody on YouTube asking about SPY price action. I don't really mess with SPY, but I will look. Oh yeah, I think this is definitely downtrending, but this big pump in the after hours or later hours, if it maintains that and starts to go back up and retest some of these other levels that it went through, like this support area right here, 427. If it starts to retest that and punches through that, then it's gonna. I think it'll be bullish again. But right now it looks kind of bearish. But this, like I said, this end of the day movement here, it's kind of tricky. So hard to say what's gonna happen tomorrow. 60. I mean, it looks like I might be utilizing this point here as a form of support, this resistance point. So once stocks go above their resistance points, these become support. I wouldn't necessarily say they're weak or strong support. I would just say that they're neutral support until it breaks through this level. Then it becomes resistance again. That looks like where it's potentially. I mean, it's got some movement back and forth across this point. Let's see what it looks like further out. Yeah, there's nothing else that I can see. I mean, some neutrality right here, but that doesn't really. I mean, I guess you could consider that neutral resistance, but not really. Um, Stock Ninja, what are my thoughts on Jerome Powell and how he's handling the state of the economy? I haven't watched Jerome Powell. I personally think that anybody in the Federal Reserve, they either don't know what they're doing or they know exactly what they're doing and they're messing stuff up. So to me, I feel like it's one extreme end or the other. I don't think there's anyone in there that, I mean, you got to remember people in banking, they're not doing things for the average person. Um, neither is the government, right? I just don't believe that the government's doing anything to help the average person in regards to money in the market, right? The SEC only goes after people that are not part of the government or hedge funds or banks. They're all buddies. So I always say, do what those people are doing, or at least try to figure out what they're doing and be in the same area that they're doing their thing in, because they're not going to hurt each other. Okay. Who else? Like I said, I could just go through my share list. Welcome, Ninja. Okay, so I'm going to pull up my analysis on what I showed earlier. So, like I mentioned, Corsair, really strong fundamentals. They've been around for a long time. As far as I can remember, to be honest, when I've been building computers since I was 12 years old, and Corsair has been either with RAM, mainly with RAM, or even hard drives, case fans, um, cases, probably some mice and keyboards. I haven't really seen them in the what do you call it, the graphics area, or like power supplies or things like that. But as far as like little small components and things of that nature inside your desktop, that's what they do. I'm sure they have other things, but that's what I know. That's what I know them for. They've got really great earnings per share, PE ratio, and forward PE. I don't know if you all know the difference between PE ratio and forward PE, but PE ratio is, um, I think it's profit to earnings. Is what it stands for. Let me just double check that real quick before I start making something up. Yeah, price to earnings ratio, and you could go on Google and find out how that's calculated. But generally, I like to look for 30 or less on PE ratio. That tells me that their value is relatively good to good or great. The lower they are to 10 or 15, that's really good. Anywhere from 15 to 30 is pretty good. Even 40 is probably okay. Anything higher than that, it's a little out of whack. Um, Forward PE ratio is just the future outlook of their price to earnings ratio. And that I like to see under 20 or 25. So, we've got 18.9 with Corsair for the PE ratio, and the forward PE 16.18. I think those are pretty good numbers. Now, um, I'm not sure which broker is exact or accurate. I see different numbers on TDA than I do Schwab. But since Schwab owns TDA, I would probably just feel more comfortable going with whatever Schwab's putting out on their app. So these numbers are all from Schwab. And I call them current numbers because I think they change as data comes in. I think it gets updated on Schwab's website and their app, their phone, their mobile app, pretty consistently. Um, so the fundamentals look pretty good on this. Um, they've beaten estimated uh, earnings reports in the past, and their current EPS is, like I said, 1.5, which is the highest I've seen it so far. So I think the future outlook on this stock is pretty good. I think that this one's going to um, continue doing well in the future. It's still relatively new, but like I said, I know the company. I've known it for a long time, so I feel pretty good about putting money into this. I never recommend buying shares of anything that you're not comfortable with, and definitely put in some fundamental analysis towards it, and then do your charting and that kind of thing. Because if you don't have, if you're just charting or if you're just doing fundamental analysis, I don't think it tells the whole story. And this potentially does neither, but at least it gives you a few things in your toolbox to um, understand what you're looking at and how to do technical analysis. It also looks like, we've got a pretty solid support level. When it touched, it did this massive wick. Buyers really jumped in. So, and there was a point here at 29.55, which is less than $1 away, where you got massive strength. So, and you got this one area over here to the left where it broke out at this level as well. So, I think there's a few things here that tell me this could be a good entry. But we do have this small little downward wedge. It'll probably fill that in a little bit more. So I'm thinking we see some neutrality here, maybe a little bit more to the downside. But I mean, from this point down, like if it breaks through this level, I'm seeing it at 26 or, even somewhere down here in the $24 range. So, that's a $2 or $4 drop if it does break through where it's at. So that's why I always recommend laddering in, throw 25%. So if you've got $1,000 you want to invest into it, buy $250 worth of shares and see what it does. See if it goes sideways. If it goes sideways for a week, you can probably add another 250 to it. But if the next, by the end of the week, if it doesn't, if it goes down more, get it at another support level. Create another laddered position on support or even resistance spots for limit entry orders on price targets, right? So there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and I think if you do it safely, especially with a small portfolio, it's going to really help you to build your account. And I always say if we buy at support, there's always going to be a high likelihood that even if it continues falling, it's going to jump right back through that support level and start retesting resistance. All right, so just a matter of time. How long is it going to take? That's the only trick, and that's the only part that it's really hard to nail down. Let's see, I got a question in here, I think. Yeah, Squatch. Yeah, colors are great. Is that a water cooler? Looks like a water cooler.
Yeah, it's a all-in-one water cooler.
Nice. Yeah, actually, I was about to debating on getting a Ryzen, upgrade my old stuff, and I
Hit
saw
me up,
some.
man.
Yeah, I saw some water coolers for the Ryzen. I want to get an 8 or 12 core. I always build for the future, never for today. All right, so moving on to the next one, which is CSIQ. I've been trading this one for a while. You can see I already have an alert here to tell me when to get in. Although that might be a little too late. If I get the alert, it might bounce off of it and jump back up. So I might turn that into an entry instead. But this company's a solar company, pretty good. Also, PE ratio and earnings per share. I didn't see a forward PE on it though, so sometimes that's weird. Schwab doesn't give you all the information, just kind of leaves it blank. This one's got a 26 or 27 PE ratio and almost $1 worth of earnings per share. So I mean, it's not amazing, but they're in the green, right? I think they're doing pretty good, and the company's coming down to a support level very, very soon. I think it will touch it. I actually played this when it was down at $14. I flipped it 3 or 4 times, made $400 or $500 each time. So this one's always done pretty well for me, and I believe solar is going to be growing in the future, especially with the kind of government we have. They're more into renewables than fossil fuels, so I anticipate that being the situation in the near future for the next couple of years. Sorry, I'm getting pinged at work. Okay. Anybody have any questions before I move on?
What do you think of First Solar? Their ticker is FSLR.
Oops. they're a little bit more volatile, I think. Um, Coming up on the 50 SMA. Let me see what it looks like on 200. Ooh. Well, definitely filling this gap it's got here. I would expect it to at least retest support level. This one here at 75. Typically, when something fills a gap, it'll continue downward to the support level. It's under the 200 SMA, so that's that kind of puts it into bearish territory, in my opinion. It still isn't completely oversold. Still in a bullish territory as far as the MACD is concerned. So I expect more downside on that. Let me just compare that to CSIQ real quick. Yeah, see, this one's way under, and it looks like it's actually getting ready to cross under the MACD as well, but it is near overbought, but not quite. Let's see if the 40 level. So this, like I said, I think we're gonna hit support here and then maybe kind of hover above and under it for a little bit, a week or two, just kind of doing this whole thing right here that this is doing, this neutral movement like this. I expect to see something like that. Okay. What else? Squatch.
Man, that's mostly been the questions I've gotten so far. I mean, with you still being fairly new, no one's really had a whole lot of time to see how you trade and how you call out stuff.
Yeah, my stuff's gonna be a little bit more intuitive because I'm gonna try to explain why and give fundamental information regarding it instead of just regular straight up entry exit type stuff. Um, I want to target the newer people, build some confidence in these traders. That's what I did to the other server. Starting out, there's a lot of new people. Try to help build confidence in people, and also, when you teach somebody something, they if they're grateful, they'll go and teach somebody else. So it's kind of a domino effect in terms of that. All right. Well, I guess I'll just keep going through my tickers here until I'm done, and then maybe call it a night for then or for that. DK and G. So again, we got this coming up towards support. DK and G is more of a risky play in my opinion. Um, this is betting for sports. They do really well during football season. So I would anticipate this to probably continue falling and at some point level out before football season or around it, and then start going back up. It's typically, this did that last year, something I expected. Actually happened a little bit sooner than I thought, but um, see, I was thinking uh, around the start of September, but it actually started first or so week of August. So I was about a month too late as far as that. And I was doing cash secured puts at the time, so definitely missed my play there, but it happens. And so I'd anticipate some kind of some more downward movement on this before we start seeing some strength. One of my favorites to trade is pets. Really good fundamentals as well. Earnings per share is 152, PE ratio 18.8, 4 P is 18. We're looking at really pretty decent fundamentals as far as those few ratios and earnings goes. This is in a downward wedge as well. I see this potentially bouncing pretty hard almost every time it gets down to this level. It rips usually. I mean, you see here on the chart, it's done it twice since inception. Everybody knows what Pets is. If you don't, it's a company that sends out um, uh, medicine for dogs and cats and the like, and it's all you know delivered to you, so you don't even have to leave to get it. Um, they do memberships, I believe, but so I'm anticipating this to do the same thing. Kind of touch this support line down here, which is actually my alert line. I didn't draw a support line because for now this works. But I've got entry orders at 28 and 27.50 and let's see, 27, I think. Maybe just to 28 and 27.50, but I'm hoping to get into this. I think we see a bounce right up onto this trend line somewhere. I'll probably try and sell it somewhere like 35 or above. Right, maybe when it hits 35, I'll set a trailing stop loss and then take advantage of any more upside before it falls again. This has always been one of my favorites. I mean, it's always got this peaks and valleys throughout the whole time. So I really like pets. Doesn't have any bad information that I could find. I think they got rid of their CEO, but that was a business decision, so I think that's positive. It's not like the CEO resigned because they're doing something bad or whatever. It's the company decided they wanted to get rid of their CEO, so I think that's a positive thing. All right, so and they pay 4% annual dividend. So if you do end up getting stuck in it, at least you're getting dividends for it. So there's that. I really like to trade stocks that have dividends. That way, if you get stuck, you're getting something for it. So there's that. RKT is another one I really like. There's some kind of negative news as far as the mortgage market goes, but I mean, if you look at the chart, this is really set up to pump. I expect this to really take off, kind of like one of these 2 points here. I mean, it's at a really low, and it's retesting its previous low, so that's as low as it's been ever, I believe. Yeah, because this has only been out since last year. You could call it a growth stock, but their earnings per share is really good, 2.57. PE ratio is amazing, 6.75, and their 4 PE is 8.4. Those are amazing numbers. They're so low, and the EPS is really good in comparison to the earnings per share. So I mean, as far as fundamentals goes, this is phenomenal. So getting in at this level isn't a bad idea, and it pays dividends, right? Let me just check to see if that's quarterly or yearly. Let's see. Well, not totally sure on the app here. Maybe FinViz will tell me. Let's see, KT. Look for the dividend on this. Well, it's still too new. It's not going to give me anything. But they did pay a dividend here on March. So it's been more than 3 months. So it's definitely not quarterly. So it might be, it's hard to say if that's yearly or quarterly. So we're going to have to wait and see on that. But it does pay it, since it does show as a payment there on the 8th of March. Looks like I had somebody ask a question about McDonald's option. So let's take a look at McDonald's 140 strike, 820 expiration. 20, 140, 140.
Maybe they meant 240.
I hope, because they're doing some in the money stuff.
Or they know something we don't.
Let me look at that again. 140. Yeah, that's like just way out of everything. There's no way. So I mean, 240 sounds right though. I think 240. You're right. I think they're asking about 240. Edwin, if you're asking about 240 strike instead of 140, I wouldn't touch that. This is breaking down. It's gapping down. It's got some massive red going on. I expect this to break through this support level at 228 and or rather 228. I would be surprised if it stays above that, to be honest. And then it's got somewhere, I'd say decent support is at 217, 215, 217, something like that. And then you've got these strong support areas that are trend reversals at 205.
I think they may have asked you because of the gap for the day.
Could be. That gap right there. It's like 234 down to 232. That's the thing about gaps. I rarely see them get filled almost instantly. Um, Kind of looking at McDonald's here though, and gaps down fills it pretty quick. Gaps down fills it pretty quick. Same thing there. So I mean, yeah, that could happen in the next week or so, probably. Now that I think about it. So
That's probably why he's asking for the August 20th.
yeah, Edwin, I think. I mean, it's risky, but when I look at the historical analysis of gaps on McDonald's, it looks like they get filled relatively quickly. Within 2 to 3 weeks. 820 expiration, in my opinion, is a little too short. I'd go with I like if anybody that does know me, I like longer term VTO stuff if I ever do it. Leaps are my favorite. Um, but the more time you've got, the better position you're in to see profits. When you do see them, take them. Don't wait. Don't feel like, oh, I got 15%. I think I can get 30. Don't do that. Just take the 15. All right, let's see. We're going to go to space now. This one's been pretty hot. It's also been dying a lot too. So this one the past few days has really been getting crushed. Had a big day today. It looks like 7% change, so that's nice. But I truly think we're going to fill these two gaps. We may not fill the second one down here at the bottom, but I really think this first one's coming sooner rather than later, just because space moves like that. It definitely has these big jumps, and then not too long after it dumps. Then it'll continue that downtrend, right? I mean, it's done that before. Continue that same downtrend, but with less volatility, less liquidity. And then at some point, some kind of news is going to make it rip again. Every time it's ripped, it's because of some kind of news. So space is news driven. If you can get in at a low price, hold on long enough, you'll get some news and that thing will pump. You'll get 200-300% on that. That's why I like space. All right, let's see. Towards the end, AT&T, and I will say space doesn't really have great earnings or PE ratio or any of that kind of stuff. They're more speculative. So I'd say it's news driven and chart driven mainly. All right, so with AT&T, got this nice big gap that was filled today, actually. So I'd like to see this come near support around the $27 area. Really strong support is going to be under 27, but I'd like to see it break down a little bit further. We've got quite a few gaps above us to be filled. This one right here, and this big massive one, which I think will take a lot longer to fill. But it definitely filled it. Remove that. Guess I can remove this now since it's already been filled. So I'd like to see. I mean, this could actually looks like it found some pretty good strength at 27.5. So this might be the level, to be honest. I could probably potentially start scaling in at 27.50 and then start adding positions at 27 with limit entry orders. Maybe something at 26.50, something like that, every 50 cents. The object is to get the price of the stock and your break even to be relative to each other. As the stock price drops, um, your break even kind of follows it down. All right.
I wish there was more people in here because Sharks actually has a AT&T play for 820 at $29 call.
When did he call that out?
Let me see. On, I believe, the 7th. Yeah, it was the 7th that he called that out.
What's the expiration?
820.
Oh, right. You just said that. I don't know if that's enough time. AT&T moves so slow. Might not be enough time for that. That might expire kind of worthless. Hopefully
It's had
not.
some pretty significant dips from when he's called it out.
Yeah, he might have been calling it on this support level right here, 28.57 area. That was a good support level, I think, but then it just ripped lower after that. He said he called it out on the 6th, and yeah, so right after he called it out, looks like it had a big dip on the 8th. So I think it still has more downside because that last red candle is pretty big. It's bigger than all those green candles prior to it. So I do think we see this kind of bleed off a little bit more. But I think the downside's kind of probably slowing at some point here. So we'll see what happens. But I think this is a good entry, especially because if you put this is something I would say you could put a little bit more money into, even though their EPS isn't great. AT&T is everywhere. Everybody's got it. Cell phones, internet. Uh, I think they have.
They're still the only phone company that provides landline services.
Oh wow. Okay. So there's that too. I know they are big into enterprise companies as well. So like my company, I have a work cell phone and it's through AT&T, and there's at least 4 or 5 thousand of us on campus, and everybody's got one. So you could just imagine the deals that they make with AT&T. I think even some of our networking switches are um, procured by AT&T. So they got other things that telecommunication stuff that they do as well, instead of just straight up consumer services. So I think this company is solid. Their dividend is amazing. They have one of the best dividends out there. Um, like if you kind of do some math, $1,000 worth of shares at say $28. You got 35 shares. 35 shares times 50 cents or 52 cents. I mean that's $18 for $1,000 worth. I mean that's not bad in terms of dividends, right? I mean, if you're one of those big time traders and you're just trying to kind of let money just sit around, this is one stock that I would certainly recommend using for dividend returns. I mean, if you got 100 grand and you're buying 20 shares at $28 a share, you got 35.71 times 52 cents. That's, I mean, on $100,000 from doing nothing every quarter, you're getting that. So times four, you're making $7,400 a year with $100,000 just sitting there. That's 7.5% just from dividends. So I'd say that's pretty fantastic. All right, let's see. Uber. I like Uber. Uber's doing a lot in the world right now. They're also considering doing helicopter drones for Ubers in and out of cities. So they're kind of being innovative. They're also looking into some what do you call it, autonomous taxis. So I think that's coming. But Uber right now is heading towards a support level. I think it is going into a downtrend, and it has a gap to fill down to the 36 level, which is where I got my uh, alert set. So as soon as it crosses through that threshold, I'll get notified and start making purchases probably, or at least setting limit orders. This is also a new stock though, so I mean, some of the stuff that I've been trading, they are new stocks. They are kind of growth stocks, so they can be quite volatile. But if you get in at a low end, there's a good chance that you're going to see some big profits in the future, the near future, that is, 2 to 3 months kind of deal. So
Do
that's
you really
really,
think it'll go back down and touch around that 38 area?
yeah, I mean, so it's not far from it, to be honest with you. And, if with my experience with gap fills, 99% of the time they get filled, right? So I wouldn't put it past Uber filling that gap. I mean, I can show you quite a few other ones that I've played gap fills on, and they did it. Let's see, Clorox. So I got to go a little bit further out on this though, so you can see it. This gray area right here, that was a gap um, that it made in its uptrend, and then and that's at 185. It went all the way up to 240, and then filled that gap, right? And that was what, 3.5 months that took to fill that gap. And we still got this big gap that needs to fill on the upside, right? So if I go back to the 1 year, you can see it. It's got this big gap to fill on the upside. So it's just start to gain its bottom right here at 170. And I think, I mean, that looks like a potential cup and handle as well. So I think we're going to see this. This is one of those that, it filled its bottom gap. Now it's going to be looking to fill its top gap. Let's see. I'm trying to think of the other one that I had. Fastly's got a upwards gap, two gaps up top that it needs to fill. So I anticipate those to get filled in the next couple of months. Let's see. I know I had a couple more. I can't think of them off the top of my head though. Oh, IBM was one. Where you at, IBM? Right there. So you can see right here, it dropped down. And it's not as big of a dip as some of these other ones, but I'd say this one's kind of about the same. Let's see, 120, so 130. Uber is looking at what, $7, $8. So 44 down to $9 versus IBM did a $10. So I mean that's probably like 5% or half of what Uber is showing. But as you can see, with these gaps, it had a big gap down, went sideways basically that whole time, and then filled the gap up, and then did another jump above, created a gap, so it hit its high. Now it's starting to come back down here, and it's going to fill that gap. What it does after all this, I won't know. That's kind of tricky. Now it's in a kind of a middle area once it fills this gap, between its low and its high. So that's a tricky thing to trade off of. So when I see something like that, I'll normally just ignore it until it shakes out, does its thing, and creates a new trend or something, or adds to its current trend, because this could very well fall further and maybe catch some strength down at the 120 area again. So I wouldn't put it past IBM to do that. Does that help answer what you were thinking, Squatch?
Yes, it does.
Cool.
Yeah, when you get done with the charts, we did have one more question.
I'm done with the charts. You can go ahead.
All right, I don't know if they're still in here or not, but Adam had asked, can you explain more on your strategy, like your day trading, if possible, your bull flag setup.
So I don't really use chart patterns. I like a few of them: double tops, double bottoms, triple tops and bottoms, cup and handles, head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders. Anything beyond that um, is very speculative, like rising and falling wedges. Those could go either way. I've seen it happen in both directions for both. So those are tough ones to play off of. Bull flags and pennants and those kinds of things. I've seen them go both ways too. The ones that I'm pretty confident in are the double and triple tops and bottoms, inverse head and shoulders, and regular head and shoulders. Those almost always do exactly what their pattern is indicating. As far as I don't day trade. I look at the market daily. I set alerts for positions that I'd like to get in at certain levels. And if something's getting close to those levels, I'll set entry orders and I'll ladder them. So I'll try to do 4 different entries on that same position. So let's say if something hits a support level, I'll get in with 25%, and then it falls, hit it with 25%. Then it maybe goes sideways or up a little bit. I may add to it again. But if it breaks out and creates a new high, starts a new trend, I might get a breakout entry, and then from that point, we're looking at the stock rising, and you'll see profits. Um, I like to flip stuff as quickly as I can. So the larger I build my watch list, the more opportunity I have. So, generally, 25% is a good number to reach at. But I don't really look at it off a percentage either. I look at it on what's the difference between the support level or break even that I got in at compared to the resistance level that it's going to find resistance at, right? So um, that could be 5%, that could be 50%. There's no telling on exactly uh, what that entails, but it's a strategy that I go with, and it's worked pretty well in the past. I don't with options. I'd say yeah, definitely come up with a reasonable and realistic percentage of profits. But when it comes to shares, I actually do price action more so than percentage, because, like I said, you can almost look at a chart and tell it's going to bounce. You know, uh, your break even point, once it moves up past that and starts coming near resistance levels, you can almost guarantee it's going to hit some resistance, and you can let that be a set a trailing stop loss at some point right there, or um, just go ahead and take profits, right? Go ahead and set limit exit orders to get out, and even if it's only 5% or 10%, over time, when you keep doing that and compounding your profits um, nonstop, give yourself 10 years of doing something like that. Sooner or later, 5% is going to be 50 grand, right? So my goal is just to make money. I don't really have an amount that I'm after. It's just to see green and profits and turn profits and make the account consistently grow over time. That way, at some point you'll hit $5 or $10 million, and then when you start making 5% returns every 2 months, something very easy, you're looking at 50 grand, right? So um, it's big money in the long run. So hopefully that answered the question of the person that you're referencing. Ninja and Fresh Wife, either you have questions? KDP.
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. No, I'm good. I'm just soaking everything in for right now. I'm glad you're here with us.
Awesome. Yeah, I got so much information. I mean, I could talk about retirement accounts for hours. Um, there's so many things that I deal with in terms of how to make money in the market. I could go for hours on talking about specific things, credit card debt or just loans in general, your credit score, just finance, period, right? I love talking finance because I like to watch money grow. And the last server I was in, I helped a guy. Um, consolidate his debt. You know, he had $4,000 in bills, and I got all of his bills down to one payment of $750. So he was able to put basically $3,000 in his pocket every month, and pay down that debt even faster, right? Instead of just paying the principal payment, he could double it and would reduce the interest that he owed massively. So that guy, he quit his job because he didn't have to work 80 hours a week anymore. So that's the kind of thing I like to help people with too. It's great to bring people out of the rubble per se.
That's the goal.
Well, hopefully we get more people to pay attention to the Q&As, and they jump in here and start asking questions. It's actually really fun when you've got questions going for hours. I've had a couple of situations in past servers where I'll be talking for 4 or 5 hours nonstop. Questions just continuously come in, and you don't even realize it's 2 or 3 in the morning. So hopefully we can get more people in here. It's a good
Hey,
learning experience.
Nexa, you got any questions, man? I know you came in here towards the end. It's okay, little fella. You can talk in here.
Oh, I
You,
didn't even realize this was the end.
that's fine. You can still ask questions. It only ends when there's no more questions.
What was the stream about?
Stocks, Nexa, stocks. No, he was going over some of the stuff that he has in his watch list.
Oh, no, then I don't have any questions.
Yeah, I kind of just went over, the charting and the fundamentals, why I did what I
Yeah.
did, that kind of thing. Some gaps here and there, price action, support resistance. Touched a little bit on the indicators, not really MACD and the RSI. My chart there has standard deviation channels as well. Those lines that go in the chart area, the purple, green, tan, and gray standard deviation channels. Those are great for finding. I use a scanner for standard deviation channels, and if I run out of things to buy shares of, that's really great to find shares. So I use the scanner and tell it to search for things that are on the second standard deviation channel, which is kind of on the low end. And that way it helps you find things that are on extreme levels, basically. I'll go over that a different day. That's a lecture in and of itself.
Yeah, I might have to start using that.
I'm going to
I'll have to
share
look
some
into it.
videos I've got too, how to set it up, what it means, what each line means, and even how to set up a scanner. So I think those would be real beneficial to folks in here.
Yeah, that would be very helpful.
Yeah, I just got to get to it. I think maybe the YouTube education channel is the one I need to do that in. Hey, what's up, Danny? I've had long conversations with Danny in the past too, so he's a good question asker. You want me to go over anything else, Squatch? I mean, can you think of anything that maybe people have asked a lot of questions about in the past?
What app or platform do you use for your trading and charting and all of that stuff?
So I use Thinkorswim to do my charting. I have a margin account where I trade in Thinkorswim, but I also use Schwab for most of my stuff because that's where most of my money's at. But I've got maybe like 12,000 in my margin and then my IRAs have the larger account balances, and that's typically where I do shares, or cash secured puts and covered calls, things like that. More safe strategies so that you're not just losing money. Like, you don't want to do spreads in a retirement account. You don't want to do BTO stuff in a retirement account. You just want to stick to things that you choose when to lose, basically.
So, do you use Thinkorswim for your scanner, or do you use something else?
I use TOS for my scanner, yes. TOS is by far the best tool to use when you're charting, scanning, looking up, technical analysis, basically. Schwab has some form of technical analysis and charting, but it's not nearly as intuitive as TOS. So I certainly prefer Thinkorswim over anything else.
Well, I'll have to hop in the stream where you show how to set up your scanner.
You need to hop over here to this Discord next and stop playing around on those other ones.
I'm not in other ones.
Oh, is it finally all over?
Yep.
Good deal. All right, Hostile, one more question. You're in some of the stuff that you put on there, you put your current EPS, your PE ratio, your forward PE. Someone was asking, what do those mean?
So PE ratio is your price to earnings ratio, right? It's what's stock price to your earnings value, and then there's a formula that gets calculated, and that number is created, right? Typically, that number you want under 30. Forward PE ratio is very similar, except it's future outlook, and you want to see that under 25. So PE ratio under 40 or 30 is good. The lower, the better. Forward PE, you want to see it anywhere from 15 to 25. Those are really good numbers. When you see those numbers in the single digits, there's something sketchy about that, right? So if you see it super, super low like that, either it's a really amazing and long-term company or something sketchy. So you got to do a little bit more fundamental analysis if you see things like that. Would you say the other one was earnings per share? EPS is earnings per share is what that means. So again, that's just, what's the earnings per share, right? How much do they make for every share they have? Are they profitable or are they losing money? So when you see a positive number, like $1.20, they're for every share they're making $1.20 in profits on top, right? So that's what EPS stands for. Was that it? Did you have another one? I think it was
No,
those.
that was just it. It was just current EPS, the PE ratio, and the forward PE. I think they were just looking at Corsair. The way you had posted all of your charts and everything underneath, you had a couple of those attached to it.
Got it. Yeah. So I tried to attach that to everything that it was relevant on. Some stuff didn't even have any information whatsoever, and when they don't have information, it's either a really new stock or something's going on, and be wary and skeptical. Heavy Boozer, did you have any questions? Sorry, your mic go off.
No, I just hopped in late. My daughter's going crazy, so I didn't want you guys to hear that. Thanks, though.
All right, cool. Danny, I know you got some questions. Help a brother out.
What's up, man?
How's it going?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I'm in my car. I just left my parents' house, so figured I'd hop on the last that you guys were talking about. I don't have many questions tonight, man. I saw all your plays you posted. They look good.
Yeah, it's been a little while since I've been doing share alerting. Been used to moderation and administrative duties.
Yeah. I'm excited you're getting ready to do shares. I mean, that's the main thing that I do is shares, so definitely something I'm going to follow along with and see what you're doing. I'm already in our what is it, RTK?
RKT, yeah, Rocket.
Yeah, I'm already in Rocket, so I might average down. I think I'm I think I'm only in like 30 shares right now, so I'm probably going to average down at the point that you said to get into like a half position or something like that.
Right, right.
Yeah, and waiting for my other ones to. I've finally crawled out of some of them, but still waiting on some of them. I got Solo and XL that I'm just bag holding hard on. But yeah,
Let's see what that looks like. Excel. Oh yeah, it's been depressed.
yeah, pretty tough.
I think you said you were in at 15, right?
For Solo,
Oh no, for XL.
something around there, 15 or 16. I forget exactly what it is. I can't look right now.
Okay.
But it's around there, definitely. I mean, I think when I looked at it today, I'm about 60% down.
Hmm. Yeah, it's definitely depressed. There's no telling when that wants to come back up.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is I don't mind waiting.
And that's the
So,
beauty of shares. You don't take
yeah,
losses. So I always say
exactly.
never take a loss. I will never ever take a loss. I will bag hold before I take a loss.
Yeah, and I mean, even on the ones that I got out of that I was bag holding, I mean, as soon as I saw like 1-2% profit, I'm like, I'm getting out of this crap.
Yeah, yeah. When you find yourself in that position, that's definitely the best thing to do. Especially if you've been
Yeah,
holding for 3 months or something. There's no point to keep bag holding that. I mean,
yeah,
if you want to take advantage of profits, you set a trailing stop at your break even, something like that.
yeah, yeah. So just yeah, waiting for that. I still got some capital to average down a little bit if I need to, but I'm at the point where I'm not taking any new plays right now. I'm just kind of managing what I have now.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I've got about 369, about $12,000 that I can play with out of my account. So I'm gonna do some small positions just so that I can do alerting. Like I don't like to alert something and not be in it. So
Yeah,
that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Just $500 positions here and there.
yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. So yeah, like I said, just kind of waiting it out, waiting for some current profits to come in, and waiting for these bags to hopefully show some profits every once in a while. But I won't hold my breath for a little while. I'm all right, just waiting. Like I said,
Yeah,
wait and learn.
it's too low to do covered calls too, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah. So I haven't done a cover call, so I haven't really messed with those yet.
Wait till you can
Yeah.
get something at your break-even price before you try it. At least that way, if it calls it away, you can make money off of it. Something,
Yeah. Yeah. So just for me, it's learning. I feel like I've been learning for like the last 4 or 5 months, and I've definitely learned a lot, man. I've learned a ton. Um, I hope in the next, probably within the next year, I want to start trading my Roth. I haven't started trading it yet, just because I'm not comfortable enough yet to start messing with that money. So it's kind of just sitting there in some long terms, but my goal is to be comfortable enough to start trading my Roth. Um, and I think I think within the next 6 months I'll be there.
I think you'll be there sooner. As long as you're looking
Yeah.
at the market every day and you're learning almost every day, you'll definitely get there sooner.
Yeah. Oh, I do have a quick question. So minus Discord, if you weren't part of any of these Discord, if you weren't part of a Discord and you were just trading on your own, just you and the charts and your money. How often, like, how much time would you say you would dedicate to, to your trading?
I would probably dedicate a lot more.
You think so?
Yeah. So right now, I can't say how much time I spend on this new server. So I'll just kind of use what I was doing at the old server. I would spend 80% of my time on the server and 20% doing stocks. But now that I'm an analyst, I'll probably be maybe 50-50. But
Yeah.
if there was no Discord involved, I mean, I would say every time I get on the computer, it's to find new stuff to educate myself. I mean, because I'm the kind of person where I can't just sit around and do nothing. I feel like I have to learn something, or I'm not benefiting myself. So if I didn't have, if it was just me in the charts, I would probably um, be trying to learn candlestick patterns a lot better, chart patterns a lot better, getting intimate with a bunch of different tickers. Um, Probably trying to do more credit spreads. I mean, I know how to do them. I've been successful in the past. Um, I did in the last server, I did about 60 credit spreads, and out of those 60, 3 or 4 failed. But the problem was, let's say I had 55 that were all profitable. Those last 5 burned me so much that it basically got me back to break even. So trying to find that balance. Um, Kind of wondering if the Ben guy here is gonna be good to where I can maybe learn something from him. I'm always down to learn stuff. So, but getting intimate with the stock, knowing its price action, having a nice watch list to continuously flow through, right? So let's say you've got 50 tickers. Every day I will go on my TOS and chart every single one of them. Look for gaps, look for gap fills, look for strong support levels and resistance levels, trends, and that kind of thing. Draw everything out, and that way, when the time comes and my alert gets hit or triggered, I can just simply go look at the chart. Boom, it's already set up and drawn out. I know exactly what to do. So it's kind of like preparation, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find that I guess kind of like you said, that happy balance. Like, I definitely don't want to, dedicate, 4 or 5 hours a day to it, but I know I need to dedicate time to it. It's just, how much, I don't know, just trying to figure out how much I need to spend, managing and watching and learning and stuff like that. And then, other stuff around my house that I need to do and crap like that.
Right. Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
definitely draw out what you've got. Go through your watch list once a day, draw it out. Do it before bed. If something sticks out to you or pops out to you, set a limit order before you go to sleep, and that way the next day there is a good a likelihood that it'll get filled. Right. So that's the beauty about shares, is you don't have to really sit there like options and babysit it necessarily. But once a day, definitely I would recommend go through the tickers that you are familiar with and continue to familiarize yourself with it, so that over
Yeah.
time the price action. You don't even have to look at the chart. $30 for this stock is a good price. I'm gonna go ahead and send an order right now from my phone while I'm at work.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, good stuff.
Cool.
You guys need to ask Hostel about some Roth IRA stuff. He knows a lot about it.
I'm pretty sure that's going to be coming up in the next couple ones.
Yeah, good. Even though I feel I know a ton about it now, I still always like hearing about it. I don't know why. It just kind of gets me excited a little bit.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, when you look at that spreadsheet that I made, and I'm going to share that with the server here soon, Squatch. But I made a spreadsheet that basically shows your compound profits over 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, 25, 30 years at just a 30% annualized return, or you can do like a monthly 2.5% compounding return. So I've got both types of both setups on the spreadsheet, so you can kind of visualize it in the future to say, all right, realistically, what's a easy number that I can plug in? Is it 10%? Is it 5%? I mean, what is it? And then after you plug it in, then you can go and look and see, all right, well, in 10 years, I'll have this much money. How much money do I need to retire on? How much money do I need every month or every 3 months? And I think every 3 months is a better way to look at it, because you can't it's hard to consistently trade monthly and make a certain return monthly. And, I'm not going to lie, it's hard to do that. So, you'll be able to, you could kind of say, all right, every 3 months, I need to make this percentage. So if I'm trading $1 million worth and I make 30% return or 10% return in 3 months, is that enough for me to live on comfortably, right? And then if you do that in 3 months, you've still got 9 more to go, right? So, that's kind of how I teach people about Roth IRAs so that they can, set a goal for themselves, how much money they're going to need in the future, how much they're going to need yearly to survive, and then take that yearly number and try to do it in 3 months. It can be done. You just need a large sum to do it with.
Yeah,
So
I think another analyst in this group had a similar spreadsheet, not for particularly for a Roth IRA, but just a trading one in general. Of hey, if you start with this much and you compound, 10% every month, like after 52, or I forget what it was, but he had a similar spreadsheet set up like that I took a peek at. I forget which analyst it was. I think it might have been the spreads guy. Had it in his tab somewhere.
it's possible.
But yeah, it's kind of cool to look at it that way to see what the potential of it is. As long as you put in the work.
Yeah, and you set a goal. Like if people set a goal, they can reach that goal. It doesn't matter how high or how hard it is. I mean, it needs to be realistic, obviously. You can't be like, I want to make $100 million in 10 years. That's not realistic. But, $1 million in 10 years is certainly realistic. Even 10 million in 10 years is realistic if you got a really good strategy and you're consistent with it. But
yeah, dedicated enough.
Yeah, I mean, I went from 34,000 to 115 from April to April, so you can definitely do 100% returns. It's just it's not easy. Like this year, I'm sitting at 15%, so I'm getting killed this year because I keep bag holding stuff when I should be dumping it at break even because it seems to hit break even and then fall right back down to that low support level. So I'm sitting here like, damn, I could have got out, got back in at the level that I wanted to get in at, and then it goes back up to the same break even that I was at, and I could have made $2,000 or 6, 7, 8 grand because like I said, I got 3 or 4 accounts, so they're all doing the same mirrored type of trading.
Yeah, I kind of regret that with so I'm in Blink, and what is it? It went almost up, so it's at 31 right now, and my break even is 46. It went up to like 45, and I'm like, just 2 more days, and it'll be break even or above. One day later, I mean, it started dropping. Never looked back. I'm like, shit. I should have probably got out of that play at a $30 loss, and just moved on. But I was a little bit stubborn, and I was like, no, I can make that $30 in the next couple of days. But it never happened, and now I'm back at $200 down or something like that. And I'm like, shit, I should have just lost that $30. But oh well, lessons learned,
Well, the good part about that is if you ever find yourself in the position to try to do that, sell like a week out expiration and covered calls. That'll give you that money that you're looking for, and if it ends up going, slightly in the money, it's only got a week of expiration, so you're not actually sitting there holding on to it forever. So then it'll take your shares hopefully, and you'll break even plus make $100 or $50 or something like that.
Yeah, a good call. Yeah, like I said, lessons learned. Like I'm still trying to learn the ropes. I've been investing for probably 4 years, but I've only been trading for probably about 6 months. So
it's a good way to put it.
Yeah. So I mean, and my investments did good. I mean, I probably turned, kind of like you said, I turned probably about $4,000 into 12, over 3 years. Right. So now that 12 grand is what I'm playing with when I'm trying to trade. Trying to, actually flip shares and stuff like that, because before I just buy it and hold on. Always, if you hold on for something for 4 years, chances are, yeah, you're gonna make money on it, as long as it's a decent company.
Right.
So, but yeah. that's where I'm at now. Lots of lessons learned, lots of learning, and definitely come a long way.
I think
sure as hell,
Powell's got a question.
didn't know any of this crap 6 months ago. Yeah, go for it. I'm gonna go off mute.
Yeah, there you go. Hostile Stock Cow wants to know, how much do we really need to grow our Roth IRAs, like in the actual account?
You gotta, I mean, you need something. Anything, right? I mean, anything you can put in there, put it in there, right? You can only contribute 6,000 a year, right? So you're limited from the get-go. So if you can max it out every single year, you max it out. Just don't play risky things, right? Do safe trades, things that aren't going to crush you, or things that, if you have to wait 6 months to a year to see money, that's fine, right? Because we're not in a rush, especially if you're young. You're really not in a rush, right? You got plenty of time. If you're under 30, you have 30 years. That's basically how I put it. If you're under 30 years old, you have 30 years to compound your Roth IRA. I'm 38, so I've got 22 years, and I firmly believe in 10 to 15 years I'll have $5 million. I don't doubt that for a second. Now I want to make it a lot faster. Believe me, definitely want to make those millions faster. But it's a safe and steady and consistent way to make money. And as long as you do that, you will compound that account. But you've got to contribute to it. You've got to, if you can, max it out every single year.
Was it 15,000, right?
No, $6,000. $6,000 a year that you can put into a Roth IRA. I think a Roth 401k you can do 15 or
Yeah,
maybe
that's what I'm
18.
thinking about.
There's income restrictions too that you need to think about.
Yeah, yep. So I think it's 152,000 single people and 213,000 for married couples. Once you make beyond those two numbers, depending upon how you file your taxes, you can't contribute to a Roth IRA anymore. You've got to, I think you can still contribute to a traditional IRA. And there's a back door that you can roll traditional IRA funds into a Roth. I'm not totally sure though if the income limit is subject to that or not. You may not be. That's actually something I keep forgetting to look up. But that could be an option. I do know that if you've got a Roth 401k, it doesn't matter. You can roll that to your Roth IRA, no questions asked. And same thing with a regular 401k, you can roll that to a traditional IRA, no questions asked. It can be $50,000 to $100,000. As long as you're rolling it from a 401k to either of those IRAs, you can do it. They just got to be 1-to-1, right? So regular 401k to a traditional, and then a Roth 401k to a Roth IRA have to be 1-to-1 like that. So, but you can roll, like I said, from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. Just pay taxes on the money, but no penalties. Yeah, like I said, I've got quite a few videos that I need to share with the group. Some on Greeks, some on calendar spreads, some on cash secured puts, covered calls, how to choose strikes.
Someone getting off Robinhood.
Yeah, getting off Robinhood. Why Robinhood sucks.
I saw a couple people in the chat complaining about Robinhood today.
Yeah, I was gonna say the video actually says why Robinhood is trash.
Most of the people that are in Robinhood started doing that for Ben's spreads and everything because it's really user friendly and easy to learn in the beginning.
See, that's the problem though, man. Like when doing options, period, Robinhood, what's the word I'm looking for? It handicaps you because it, number one, doesn't have an option chain, right? How do you know anything about a strike without an option chain? You simply don't. There's no open interest. Like you've got to go source the information in Robinhood, whereas like most other brokers, they got an option chain that is right there, easy for you to see all that information you need. Robinhood, it's through multiple menus, so you're already handicapped from the get-go. That's why I hate Robinhood. I mean, among other reasons, though. Let's see, I got a couple of messages here. Stock cow, I think I did. Did I answer that? The difference between 401k and IRA? Do you need me to be specific? I think I kind of answered that, but if not, I can answer that. Okay, so the difference between a 401k and an IRA, which is an individual retirement account. 401k is managed by the company that you work for. Typically, it's similar to a mutual fund, some sort of fund. You can invest in specific mutual funds like Vanguards or things like that. The company that you're with could have its own fund that everybody that invests that have chosen that fund will invest into it. So like some companies, if they're publicly traded, they might have a certain fund that is just company stock. But you can't manage it. It's being managed by the servicer of the company. So they typically outsource 401k plans to certain firms similar to hedge funds. And since it's a large amount of money, they need a firm to manage it. So somebody will take that cash. They'll find all these funds to put or to give you choices to put money into that servicer provides, and that's it. That's the only choices you have. Whereas an IRA, it's specific to whatever you want: equities, options, indexes, ETFs, whatever you want. You can do funds if you want to. You can pull it out. You can purchase, sell, do whatever you want. It's completely up to you. So that's the big difference between the two. And I always tell people no more than 50% of your account in the market at any one time, right? And no more than 5% per position of your entire portfolio. Whereas 401k, it's 100%. So all of your money is in. If the market takes a dump, so does your entire portfolio. Whereas if you're trading in an IRA and you've only got 50% in, well, you only just take a dump on the 50%, and that's actually an averaging down buying opportunity for the remaining money that you've got, right? So you see bigger profits sooner, and you can exit positions sooner, or in a 401k, you're just stuck. So hopefully that's the information you were looking for.
Hey,
Hey,
question. What do you think about kind of, I guess, I'm not sure how to put this, but I guess the market overall? I mean, do you think that, with news of, new COVID variants and, California, like going back on lockdown, I mean, do you think we're going to kind of see another, when COVID first hit, drop type of thing? Or do you think it's not going to be as bad? I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, does that make sense?
yeah,
I mean, this, now we're dealing with the pandemic of the unvaccinated, and hospitals are getting more full, and da 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 da. All the BS you see on the news.
well, that's exactly what it is. It's BS. Like I don't
Exactly. That's why I said it that way.
It.
But unfortunately, that BS plays a lot of plays a big role in our lives.
Yeah. So I don't think it's going to be as massive as it was before. I think we will continue to see some downtrends in some areas. But here's the other thing: is some of these companies actually did well during that time. You know, like
Yeah.
Zoom was a good one. I think
Amazon.
Fastly, yeah, and Amazon was a really good one. Um, you know, I don't think it's going to have as much of an effect because not every state is going to shut down. I think a small percentage will. I think the very left-leaning states are going to be the
Liberal
ones.
states.
Yeah, the more liberal states are going to be the ones to shut down versus I think like the Republican states like Texas and Florida, for example, they're not going to shut down. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, it's just going to depend on certain factors, right? But the market is going to be initially, it's going to be a little touchy about it, I think. So it's going to get to a situation where the market kind of has some volatility because of it, and then it starts to die off again, and the market's going to pick back up.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I am seeing a lot of negative direction on some stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, just recently with the news, the news has been kind of a scare tactic lately,
Right.
kind of like it was in the beginning of COVID. All the variants and new lockdowns, and the pandemic of the unvaccinated, and all that crap. So I don't know, getting your thoughts on it, see what you thought.
Yeah, I think that whole pandemic of unvaccinated is just to get them vaccinated.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
No matter what they say, I'm not getting vaccinated. I'm one of those people. I don't care. I will.
I don't.
will.
I'll be honest. I'm the same.
My immune system is the best thing to fight against diseases.
Yep.
Especially flu-like stuff. I've never gotten a flu shot. And knock on wood,
Nope.
I haven't gotten the flu.
Never.
So
I mean,
this shit is not
in this.
even. It's the same as the flu, nearly. I mean,
Yeah.
when you look at the
Hey,
deaths.
I respect y'all's opinions on this, but there are people in the chat whose children have died from COVID. So maybe just a little bit of a caution on this subject.
Yeah. And I mean, I believe it's, I wholeheartedly, there is COVID, there is a
Right.
virus going around. That's no joke. But, it's, I don't know, it's tough. It's tough.
I mean, children have died from the flu too, right? So, people have died from both. There's no disputing that. I just think that the media overplays it. It's very like the media sells hysteria, right? That's where they make their money. So, I follow the money, right? And to be a good trader, I think learning how to follow the money and where the money's going and what's affecting the market specifically because of where the money goes, that's a big factor, right? So I've known people that have died from COVID too, right? So it's not like, again, we're not saying people don't die from it, but healthy people don't get sick from it.
I understand what you're saying, but I also don't understand how this applies to trading specifically. There are a few more questions in the live chat if you want to give a look at those.
Yeah.
Sure. Let's see. When you enter share plays, will you alert it? So I did stock how I set limit orders on some of those. So if you read through some of it, some of them already have limit orders set. Some of them have alerting orders set, meaning when it crosses over that threshold, it's going to alert me, and then I'm going to probably get into it and alert it myself. Let's see. Yes, I am self-taught. Lots of mistakes and lots of lost money. If somebody says they're successful and they've never lost money, they're lying. Just my opinion. Because a few years I made money, and then a few years I lost a lot of money, and then a few years after that I started learning how to really make money safely and consistently. So self-taught's the best way, because if you self-teach yourself, that means you're number one interested in it, and Secondly, if you're interested in it, then you're going to put more time and effort into it, right? So typically when somebody wants to do something, they're going to excel at it. Doesn't matter what it is. If there's a mathematician out there that loves math, they're going to do really well in calculus, right? So, but that same mathematician might not like reading charts and stocks, so he's not going to be so good at that. So, it's kind of a personal thing, right? Are you interested? Does it uh, pique your interest? Does it make you want to, like when you wake up, do you go, I can't wait to look at these charts? Or do you go, I gotta read these charts again? You know what I mean? Like it's that whole mentality piece of, you know, is your determination there? Is your perseverance and persistence there to learn something that you know is going to benefit you? Um, so, you know, hopefully that helps answer your question, Stock Cow. It'd be better if you had a mic, but I'm pretty sure uh, last time I tried to get you to talk, you said you dropped your phone in some cow poop. I see your other question is 3,000 a year okay for Roth? Of course, anything that you can put in is worth it. Especially you're 19, so man, if you can put in 300 bucks, it's worth it. Because if you do that and your income grows, then you can grow what you contribute and then get to a point where you're maxing it out. By age 30, you might already have 50,000 in there or 100,000 in there, and you might have already compounded that money for the first 10, 11 years that you've been doing it, right? So, start as soon as you can, man. Like if your paycheck a week is 100 bucks, throw 20 in. Just take a chunk, a percentage of what you make. And as your pay goes up, take that same percentage and keep doing that. Keep living the way you are in some scenarios. Like, if you're frugal and you can cut back on certain things that you don't really need but you want, that's going to benefit you in the long run because you can take that money and put it into a Roth IRA, and then now you've got money that's been stacking for a good little while. And once you get to, like I said, 50 or $100,000, it's a lot easier to take certain plays, especially the ones that are a little bit more costly. Because when you're starting out and you've only got 500 bucks, you're very, very, very limited to what you can put your money into, right? So build that money up, and uh, the earlier you start, the better. I can't pound that way away enough. Had I started when I was 18 or 21 or even 25, I guarantee I'd be a millionaire by now, knowing what I know, right?
But
And
did you know that when you were 18?
not at all. Nope, did not. And
And
that's one reason why I teach, or I do my best to teach, is because if people can learn what I wish I knew 10 years ago, they'll be rich in no time. And it's not because I think I know everything or I know what I do know how to get rich, but it's going to take 10 years, right? It's going to take 10 years for me to hit $1 million. The way I trade. Um, I think somebody told me that Ben, one of the other guys here, that one of the other analysts, made 4 million, give or take, in 5 years or something like that, with spreads. That's fantastic. And honestly, I'm looking to maybe follow him on just my margin account and continue doing my foundational trading of shares. Right? I mean, that's I was doing cash secured puts, which is very similar to shares, and I can go over that in a different um, discussion. But shares is basically the foundation of what I do, and I always say stick to the foundation. If I can be successful enough to learn how to trade the way Ben does with spreads and make those consistent returns the way I was told he does, then that's a great way to turn your side job per se into a full-time job. I mean, quit your job, and then whenever you're making money, you can just throw that into your Roth accounts and slowly build that up. And at some point, you'll have millions in all your accounts.
Yeah, I want to say I've talked to him in pretty great lengths, and man, you start. He was saying you can start with 1,000, and every 3 to 4 months, if all you do is just take and just put it back in, barring taxes in that situation, 10 to 15 years, you're looking at 1 to 2 million.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I had in mind when I started to do spreads before, and iron condors and butterflies. Now, those are a lot more tricky, but spreads are a lot simpler, I think, in terms of if you can get the direction right, you're gonna make money. It's pretty simple. Um, but you can still do the same thing with shares, if not safer and easier, right? I think it takes a little bit more understanding to know certain things in the market to really be successful at that. Sounds like he's been doing it for a while too, so having that experience is a massive help. Um, I think there's things you can learn in shares that you can't learn elsewhere, like patience. Patience is one major thing that I always say you can certainly learn from shares because you've got to sometimes bag hold, and sometimes it might take you a month, 2 or 3 months to sit on shares, and then at some point you're going to see profit. Um, like I was in Neo back in March. Um, up until May, I had to bag hold, but by the time they started pumping, hit $55, I was up $8,000 when I was down 4,000. So it happens, and it usually happens cyclically. I can't talk. Cyclical, and um, there's usually a time frame that it happens within. So as long as you're not in at a high and just trying to get your money back, and you get in at support, then you have a high likelihood of making money. Let's see.
Hey, another quick question.
Okay.
For all those alerts that you alerted, do you just have limit orders, like just sitting waiting for them to get filled, or are you just waiting for them to get to that level to take a look at it and then make your play?
Yes to both questions. So yes, I do have limit orders for some, and yes, I have alerts for some. So I don't want to the things that I have alerts for. I don't want to buy them just yet. I want to see what they do when they get to that level, right?
Yeah.
And the ones that I have limit orders already out there for, then I'm just waiting for it to hit that level, and I'm getting in, right? I've already made the decision on that.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay. Stock cow. I had cash secured puts on Neo at $9, and it actually finished in the money. I ended up owning them and selling them at 15. So look at the price they're at now, right? The same thing. I had what was it? Moderna. How about Moderna at $75 a share? That thing's up to 300 something right now. I sold it at 90 for like 7, 14, $2,100 in profit. So I made $2,100 when it hit 90.
I got a question for you, Hostile.
Okay.
And this is more just a real personal one. Why do you know that information? What makes you go back and look to see what you could have made?
It's just one of the tickers on my list.
Okay.
I've got gap fills that I'm looking for specific tickers to fill a gap, right? And Moderna was one of them. But since it got added to the S&P 500, I think that ship has sailed, unfortunately. But that's one of my main tickers that I've got on there. So um, I usually like to try to play the same things over and over because like I said, you get intimate with the stock, it, right? So example I always use is if you're married, you get a wife or husband, you know what they like to eat, you know how much meat they like with their potatoes. If they like ketchup or mustard on their burger, it's the same concept, right? If you're intimate with the ticker symbol, you know the price action. You don't have to think about it, and you can just literally pull it up on your phone, see the number, and be like, "Oh crap, that's a good price. Let me go ahead and get some shares." Yeah, gaps are great. I love gaps. They work really well with leaps, but leaps, I still haven't quite found the right way to go about doing that, because sometimes I'll get into the leap and then it continues dropping, and yeah. So that's why I still like shares the best. Yeah, Rocket, man, I've played Rocket since it came out, and I've probably flipped that thing 10 times, and make 200, 400,000, times three, because I mirror all three of my accounts. Just a lot easier for me to look at the stock and say, okay, I got it at this price on all three accounts. I know I can just look at one of them and be like, all right, I'm up $300 times 300, so I'm actually making $900. All right, so I did that with Rocket. I love Rocket. I literally flipped it at least 10 times. Make minimum of 150 to $300 each time in each account. Pets is the same way. I probably flip pets 5 or 6 times. Same thing. Make 250, 350, 400 in each account. That's why they're on my watch list, because I consistently trade those.
Are you still holding PLTR shares?
Unfortunately, Kathy killed me on those when
I
she dumped hers.
I got out in positive, and I was thinking about going back in.
You could. It's at a really low level. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, yeah. So
Let's see
I
where
got
it's
out
at.
of. That's one of those that I got out, and I think I made. I bag held that for probably about 2 months, and when I got out, I made about $100. So I was fine with it, but I was thinking about going back into it, and because if you watch it over the last 5 months, it just, maybe not 5 months, but over the last 3 months, it's just between like 20 and $27, up and down, up and down, up and down.
Yep. Yeah, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'd say 5 months. Yeah, 5 months. It's traveled in between 27 and that's a really low number, but let's say 27 and $20. Yeah, it's pretty consistent with that. So that's another one you could do it with.
Yeah, is that staying within the standard deviation channels? Is that following that? I'm on a walk right now, so I'm not looking at the screen.
So this one isn't really. It needs more history, in my opinion. Let me look at the 180. And yeah, it just there's no real pattern, unfortunately. Yeah, no real pattern that I'm seeing, but I fully expect this thing to rip and go past 27. I mean, $30 is a
I think a
strong
lot of people do.
resistance. Yeah, so same thing with Fastly and Neo. They travel literally almost exactly identical to this. They're all three of them are growth stocks. So, when they put into that, or they're put into that growth category, they typically travel within the same movement. Even Lee does it. I think Laser also does it. Let's see. So Lee for sure. Yeah. See, Lee is very similar. Laser. Laser is not doing it. Rod is getting killed. Oops. But Rod was one of those that was following it, but it's definitely not doing it now. Rod got crushed.
Yeah, I talked to you about Ride. I think maybe like 2 or 3 months ago, and it's just been going. I was like, hey, this looks primed to go, and like all the technicals looked right, but they were in some trouble with the SEC or something, and
yeah,
it was just like wait for the news, and it's just gone down ever since. Hasn't looked back.
Same thing with Plug. Plug did the same thing. They had some issues with the SEC, and they're getting crushed since then. And that was 4 or 5 months ago. There was another one. I can't remember now what it was. So, QuantumScape, QS. It's it just died, man. It's like somebody shot it and it fell into a grave or something. I'm not sure why, but I looked at the fundamentals on this and I thought they were pretty good. But for some reason, QS is just not doing so well, unfortunately. So I'm even nervous to touch that, even at this low level. I'm not just not even sure. Um, like I said, I looked at the fundamentals. I'm like, well, this should be doing well, but it's a growth stock, so there's that. Stock how I don't know why Kathy got rid of PLTR from ARK investments, but she did, and I was up $1,500 in times three, unfortunately. So, and I was looking for that $30 price point because it looked like it was coming towards it. It hit 27.50, and it was like, I mean, that is a resistance point at 27.50, but it was doing it with volume, and I'm like, wow, this price action looks good. I think I'm gonna wait, and then literally, I think it was after hours, or maybe it was at the start of the market, she dumped everything, and PLTR died $3 that day. So it instantly went from profit to break even in one day when it took 2 or 3 weeks to go from break even to profit. So it's a pretty disappointing thing. I probably won't touch PLTR very much in the future just because it's too touchy to this whole market bonanza. Um, Neo, I think Lee is actually a really good one. I don't really like Chinese stocks because they like to manipulate stuff, but once I get out of Neo, I might go with Lee. It does literally moves exactly like Neo, but it's easier to read the chart, I think. Um, it doesn't have as many shares that move though, so this one's looking like shit. I mean, it's in the millions, 4 to 6 million a day. And Neo is a lot more. But that's my point. Like Neo's, average is about 30 million a day. So Lee and Neo, they travel almost identical. If you can look at the charts here, it's just Lee is less traded, but it's still in the millions. So when you're doing shares, as long as you're doing 1 million shares a day or more, that's plenty liquid enough. I mean, I would even argue 500,000 a day is probably enough. But I like to see a little bit more liquidity because that gives volatility in a way. And, that's what we need to see when we're trying to flip shares is some volatility, get in low, buy low, sell high, right?
Nah, I like to do the opposite.
And buy high, sell low.
Yeah, man. You ever have you ever ran into issues with you getting filled in after hours for shares or pre-market? Like you have
No, you
a
just
order
have to
set and it just doesn't get filled.
you just have to play around with it, right? If it doesn't take your order, move it up or move it. It's typically move it up because if you're buying shares, then I mean, unless you're shorting shares, then that's different, right? But if
Yeah.
you're buying shares, which is I'm assuming what you're doing,
Yeah.
after hours is you just have to find that right price point, and it will initiate. But you have to find that right price point.
Yeah,
So
I think my problem is I need to stop being like OCD and trying to do like zeros and fives.
right, yeah,
If that
it
makes
could
sense.
be.
I'm like, oh, I'll get it 25 or 20 or 30 or 35. Where it's like I should just be like, oh, let me take it at 33. Um, those types of things.
Well, the way I would do it, or the way I normally do it, is so let's say the stock is at $30 and today's price movement was 2%. Um, maybe take half of that 2% and add that to the $30. So, if 2% was, I don't know, $1 in movement, but the stock price is at 30 at close, you could do 30.50 and there's a good chance you'll get it.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's typically how I do after hours. I love after hours for the simple fact that the price doesn't really fluctuate, obviously, like it does during market open. So you can take your time and decide if that price is good for you. And if it is, you enter it in, and it either happens or it doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's typically when I do all of mine is um, after hours, because there's emotion that's involved, right? So being involved with emotion is a tough thing. And if the market's closed and not really fluctuating, there's less emotion for you. So I always try to avoid as much emotion as possible because you make wrong decisions when you're emotional. It's just a known thing. So if you can avoid being emotional and be more logical, then you can make better trades.
Stockcow asked, do you prefer SMA or EMA?
I don't know, man. Hard to say. I mean, they're both good, right? I don't use them necessarily. They're more like so I have a few things that I look for, I guess, and that's one of the things that I look at to say, okay, after I decide I think this is a good stock, what is it? What is the 200 SMA or the 50 SMA sit? What does it look like in relation to the stock price and the few other indicators that I use? Um, my chart here shows true momentum and RSI, which is literally the same thing, except true momentum shows directional movements versus RSI just shows just straight up overbought and oversold. RSI shows the trend plus overbought and oversold. So, but I've got the RSI there just to see, how it correlates with the true momentum. So it's not 1-to-1, but it's pretty close. So I like to have both up there. It's just I look for things, look for reasons why I shouldn't get into something. Similar to how I'm looking for um, a property, like in the mountains or somewhere nice that I can get away from normal life for a week or so. And I have yet to find one because all I'm doing is finding reasons why I shouldn't buy it. So that's the same concept with stocks. I look for reasons not to buy it, and if I can't find any, I've got a good pick. A lot easier to
And
do with
you
shares than options.
and you use it as a confirmation, right?
Use what?
The SMA or EMA.
No, not really.
It's
I mean,
so that's actually from Stockcow in the chat. I'm just kind of relaying it.
oh, okay. No, I don't really use it as confirmation. I just look at it and say, okay, is it above or below? If it's above, it's still bullish. If it's below, it's bearish. If it touches that line, then there's a good chance it'll bounce. If it breaks through that, then it's gonna break hard. So whatever happens on that line, then you can take whatever it does do. That's what you need to analyze. Not You're not trying to use it to beat something. You're using it to see what happens after it happens or after it shakes out, so that whenever it does shake out, now you're looking at the aftermath, and that's what you want to trade. You don't want to try to beat something because there's a good chance it's gonna beat you. But that's how I trade. Some other traders, they might find success in beating things, right? I think it's a lot harder to do. And like I said, I'm just trying to teach people how to do something safe. So when you let things play out, at least you know what you're working with, right? You know what you're putting your money into, versus trying to beat the market and then the market goes down, right? I mean, there's times when people go, "Oh man, XYZ went up 100%. I should have put my whole portfolio in." Well, there's times when you put your whole portfolio in and it dumps, right? So it's hard to beat things, but if it dumps and you didn't put your money in, now you got a great opportunity. But if it pumps and you didn't put your money in, you just move on to the next thing. Find something else that's at a good level.
There's always another play.
1000%.
Take the L's and move on to the next play, or take profits and move on.
Never take L's. That's my motto. I don't like
I mean,
losing.
oh, you got a whole bunch of people who held on to SOS and LGHL, and look at them now.
I'm still bag holding SOS.
You just not gonna take the L, huh?
I'm trying not to, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to try as long as I can. What's the longest that you've held on to a stock, Hostel? Wasn't it like 4 or 5 years you were waiting for it to go positive?
No, I've been holding Barrett Gold since 2011.
There you go.
I almost had an opportunity to make. I think I was up like 350 on it. I should have took it. But then it went down again, so I averaged down again. So if it retests resistance this time, I'll probably be $600 in profit this time. So, but 2020 hindsight, had I got out then with $300, that was like $4,500. Now now I think I have about 5,500 in it. So, had I got out with profits, I could easily have gotten back in at a low and have made money again on it. So, it's just a tricky situation sometimes when greed plays a major part. You look at something, you go, I just want to get another couple of dollars. Me being as seasoned as I am, I still make that mistake every once in a while. So, no one is going to be immune to that.
I hear that. All right, Hostile Man, I appreciate the live and everything and answering all my questions, but I'm probably about to go check on my food and see what I got going on for the rest of the night.
Sounds good, man. Yeah, I'm probably done too, unless anybody else that's around has questions. It looks like probably nearly out of them. Oh, look, maybe I can help the people out on YouTube real quick. Okay, so Ryan wants me to look at Baba. So let me just move that. I think Baba has a low around 187 last time I saw that. 194. Okay, so around 190, 194. I see Baba potentially getting some strength, but that's a weak support and a weak resistance area. I think the stronger level is going to be around 176 for Baba. That's definitely in a downtrend.
I think the reason Baba's got a name going on right now is because the gap on the day.
Let's see. About as close as I can get it right there. And then that one. So this is a current level. Yeah, where it's at, it has nothing. There's no support or resistance levels acting as support. So I think it drops further. So at least to 195. For the person that was asking on YouTube. And I'm not even sure if those people on YouTube are in the server or not, but if you aren't in the server, I posted this server's Discord link. That way, you guys can join. Let's see. So Joe Lee, if you're still in here, True Momentum is above RSI, and it's literally the same thing, except It shows trend direction and trend change. So that's the only difference. Talha Ali, you can invest 50 and make a 5,000, but it's going to take a really long time. Better off to start with 1,000. If you start with 1,000, you can get to 5,000 within a few months, I think. In 4 to 6 months, you could totally get to 5,000 if you're good at swinging shares and you take profits when they're there. Yeah, absolutely. Daytona Jim, best time frame for scalping is going to be 5-day, 15-minute, in my opinion. If you're talking about daily scalping, that is. So 5-day, 15-minute, 1 day, 1 minute, 1 day, 5 minute. Those three are the three that I usually look between when it comes to scalping, day scalping. But the 5-day, 15 minutes is going to give you the weekly support and resistance levels. So I think that's important to know. Nikhil Yadav, I would certainly try to roll more on space if you can. I think this one continues downward. It's got a couple of gaps that I'm anticipating it to at least fill one of them. So maybe down to the $21 area. So if you can, I'm not sure if you're still in here, but if you can tell me what your expiration is, let's see first. So yeah, if you can tell me what your expiration is, this looks like it has weeklies. So what I would try to do on this is try to roll down your strike. Even if you're not getting any kind of credit whatsoever, you roll your strike down so that you can, your position follows the stock price down so that you can continuously roll it. And then once it gets to an average level, then you can start rolling it out for credit on the same strike. So, let's say you roll it down to the 35. Well, let's see, August 20th. Okay, so August 20th, still a ton of premium. And you got the, did you say 38? 38. I probably wouldn't have gone for that just because OI. I mean, OI is not bad, actually. I mean, 841. I always say at least one for every 500 open interest contracts there is how many you want to have. So I would try to roll down. So you'd have to go to August 21st, 38. So 35 is about the best you're going to get on there. So I don't think that's going to work. So September is going to be the next one. So 38, 36. I would probably try to roll down to 35 if you can. If you're still getting credit for it, go down to the next strike. Go to the 34 and the 33. I'd have to see what kind of credit you're getting to really give you a better answer. But basically, what you want to do is see what it looks like tomorrow. Since we had a nice green day today, I think you want to take advantage of that. So look at the September 17th option chain. Hold on, first let me just take a quick look at this again. I mean, you could try August 27th and go to the 35. So that's 3 strikes down. You could certainly try that. If you're not able to get anything there, then go for the 35 strike on September 17th. Remember, roll down the strike, and as long as you're not paying a debit, you're doing yourself a favor. You're basically eliminating, so from 38 to 35, you're basically eliminating $300 from your current loss on that CSP. Okay, let's see. Yeah, you're welcome, Ryan. Yeah, I'll be posting more on the YouTube. I think there's a lot of people that want some specific videos. I still get DMs from people from my old server. So I think I'll try to continue helping them out. You're welcome. Nikhil. All right. Well, I think I'm done. Let's see any
Appreciate
more
it, man.
questions. Yeah, of course, Danny. Happy to talk. You know that.
So you're gonna be doing these Sunday nights usually?
Yeah, Sunday at 8 is going to be my
Okay.
normal time.
Sweet.
So hopefully we get more people in. I mean, um,
Yeah, it
got
seems like a little bit of a smaller server, which I think is nice.
yeah, it gives me more time to breathe, honestly, and
Yeah.
I can be an analyst again, which is something that I miss doing that because I was more intimate with stuff, and then I
Yeah.
kind of it fell by the wayside, so I started losing my edge. Now I'm going to gain that edge back, so I'm excited to do it.
Good.
Well,
Well,
cool.
sweet, man. Thanks for the chat again.
Yeah, of course.
And have a good rest of your night.
Thanks, you too. Take care.
Yep. See ya.
See ya.